Well then, I think it's time for part 2 of the anime, alcohol, and commodities part. Just kidding. Let's get this out of the way. It was a good bottle. Let's bring in something new.
I see. The chill hasn't even gone away.
Yeah, man. One would mistake this for an ice-type Pokemon. That's it. I think it's time. Welcome our viewers to the next episode on the Whiskies and Weeds podcast. It's time for the anime, alcohol, and
Tribalism?
tribalism.
Alright.
Well, Ben.
Yes, Ed.
We're back. It's after Christmas.
Well, for the viewers, it's after Christmas. For us, it's back to back.
Yes,
And
it is a bout of alcoholism that we encourage people to not participate in.
indeed, a long night with a bit too much alcohol and perhaps inebriation when discussing the topics.
Well, that's why we have addendum episodes. But hey, I did you the favor of chilling the next whiskey.
Yes, I see it is very chill. I call it a Vanillux if there were vanilla taste, but that I do not know.
I can't even read the text that lies on the bottle, but hey, that is beside the point. Welcome back to the Whiskies and Weeds podcast. We are going to be going through a very interesting topic today, one that deals with a theme that we discussed very little about in the previous episode, but one that we'll be talking a lot about in this episode. It is about identity. It is about tribalism. Ben, how would you describe this concept of tribalism?
Well, it is the formation of a totem around which a community revolves.
Yes, the formation of a tribe.
A tribe, a totem, however you put it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. The idea of tribes is something that has been here for a very, very long time.
Yeah, fair enough.
We form tribes around things. For example, anime and manga.
Fair enough.
We have fandoms. Those are good examples of tribes that exist around specific anime. For example, the Bleach fandom. For example, the Kengan fandom. Those are examples of such fandoms that exist. And these are, well, tribes that we could possibly milk for profit.
I guess these are more specific tribes. I guess there are more generic tribes such as the sub versus dub, manga versus anime.
Yup.
Essentially any community that forms around an idea, a specific totem, can be considered a tribe.
Exactly. But before we make our deep dive into many different tenets of tribalism, let us get into our whiskey for today.
Yes, let us not forget that there is also the chilled versus non-chilled tribes.
Exactly. Hey, if that's it, once again, our previous episode, we reviewed and recommended a Scotch. This episode, we are going to be talking about another Scotch. We are going to be talking about the Glen Moray single malt Scotch whiskey.
I see.
So, without waiting any further, let's get into it.
Let's get into the Glen Moray.
Alright, so we have a Glen Moray Speyside single malt Scotch whiskey for us today.
Indeed.
But because of how frosted this is, I actually can't read what are the fine details on this whiskey right here.
Well, in any case, I guess you can. What I'm expecting is a smoky, slightly salty, but definitely smoky and peaty.
Yes, after all, it is a Speyside
Yeah,
whiskey,
exactly.
so we can definitely expect some little smoky flavors. It says that it comes from American oak barrels. That's the oaky flavor, and finished for a few months in port pipes. So port is wine, if I remember correctly.
Right. Yes.
So we can expect a little fruity flavors here and there.
Hopefully, a little sweetness in that.
Yes. From what I'm seeing from tasting notes here, it appears that there are going to be some sweet flavors. So I'm going to be looking
Yes.
forward to that.
Indeed. Hopefully, it is not too subdued, and
Yes.
then the smoky and peaty taste overpowers everything.
Alright, let's pour us a nice, neat dram of Glen Moray single malt whiskey.
Chill.
Chill. My hands are freezing.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Enough, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've already drank like half a bottle of Singleton, so you know.
Well, Singleton is great, but let's find out how great Glen Moray single malt is.
Indeed.
Alright. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Big whiff.
I mean, definitely the smoky
Yep.
flavor comes through.
Ooh. I'm wide awake now.
Yeah, that is PT smoky. I am not getting too much of a scent of sweetness.
Where is the vanilla I was promised, yo?
I mean, to be expected, it is a space like whiskey, so you know.
Well, that's it. Time to taste it. Ooh.
Ooh.
Not as smoky as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Spicy.
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 Slightly salty.
Yeah. Just a tad bit.
Yep, just the right amount. And honestly, the aftertaste surprisingly does not taste of nuts. It's slightly fruity, which is an interesting aftertaste.
With a bigger mouth, I'm starting to get that nice fruity flavor that you were talking about. Ooh. A little grapey. You can really feel the wine starting to come through a little bit. Yeah. It's very light, actually. From the initial tasting, it comes across as very light, very smooth. Once you take it in, that's when the flavors start to hit.
Indeed.
Grows a bit bigger, bigger the sip you take, the bigger the flavors hit.
Surprisingly, the fruity taste is something that comes out when you actually taste the whiskey. It's something that you don't get when you smell.
Yeah, it's
But,
like
yeah.
it's hitting me like raisins. I'm not too fond of raisins, but it's starting to come across in the aftertaste. Not nuts, like you said.
Yep.
Which is pleasant
Yeah.
because I am a little sick of nuts.
After the last few bottles.
Yeah, last few bottles have been disappointing to say the least. So the Singleton and this fantastic chance to refresh how we're tasting whiskeys.
Indeed.
Non-nutty, nice fruity flavors, not too sweet, but not too smoky either.
I think it's like a slightly more intense pandering. Yeah.
Got it right. Yeah.
With a slight salty taste to it.
And a longer lasting fruity
Yeah.
aftertaste. Oof. Fantastic.
This is indeed a very good whiskey.
Not bad. It was actually a decently priced whiskey as well. Came with free glasses. Wait a second. We are supposed to use nosing glasses for this. Yo! Whatever. We can always use it for on the rocks.
Yeah, fair enough. Wait, what?
What?
I don't think nosing glasses are necessary for whiskey on the rocks. But
Well,
once you add the ice, it really does take away from the smell of it.
yes. Oh, I actually got like this faint. It's a bit faint of a Cadbury chocolate and raisin taste. Like once I draw a breath in, once I had the whiskey. Not bad. Not too fond of the raisin taste, but it is the great notes that come along with a rather fruity whiskey.
Indeed. Honestly, very, very pleasant. It is not.
I think
The best part is that the smokiness is not overpowering.
yes.
For
I think
a Speyside whiskey, that is something to be said.
exactly. I think like the Scotches this year have proven to be better than most of the Japanese whiskeys we've had.
Yeah.
The only things good that we've like positively good was the Kyushu Cowboy series.
Yeah.
The Inoue and the Shinozaki was really good.
Mhm.
But so far, I think for Scotches, Glen Moray and the Singleton definitely good way to wrap up the elm here.
Indeed.
I wouldn't mind like getting inebriated for the rest of like the session. It's good. What can I say? I'm
Just with this.
looking forward to seeing it on the rocks. Not so much in the mixer. I feel like with
The taste profile.
how light it is, it might get. It's similar to my primary concerns with the singleton. It will get absorbed or it will get like overshadowed. Yes, by the mixers that we'll be using.
I think it does have a very festive taste to it. Very festive taste to it. It's like, you know, how you usually drink wine at a Christmas dinner. Yeah, why not? It has the some taste of wine to it.
If anything,
Festive.
it has the dessert feel. Like
Yeah.
I said, with a nice deep breath after consuming it, there's the taste of chocolates and raisins like you have in a Cadbury bar.
Very interesting whiskey.
Yes, the sweetness is not strong, but it has distinct taste.
Yeah.
Yes, the clear raisin, maybe chocolate taste. Alright, definitely something that I'm looking forward to.
Indeed.
Let's see if it holds up when it comes to On the Rocks. But for now, this wraps up the start of our whiskey review.
Indeed.
Okay, yes. So now we can get into our episode proper.
Yep.
We are talking about tribalism. The idea, concept of tribalism, forming tribes. It is, in my opinion, a issue of social identity. The nature of which being that people want to have something relatable to incorporate into their identity, and thus they subsume an external group's identity into their own. It is very evident in fitness.
Interesting
Ben,
take.
are you aware of dieting?
Well, I have heard of the multiple different diets.
Could you care to name some?
Paleo,
Mm.
keto.
Mm.
I assume that vegetarian is a form of diet, but
Well,
not
we
specific
can
to fitness.
technically consider veganism diet.
Veganism,
Yes.
carbo loading.
Carb loading is more of a strategy rather than a diet.
But that's about my understanding.
I see. Paleo, keto, veganism. All of these are diets that have been, they have gained traction over time. The paleo diet, otherwise known as the caveman diet, has had a strong focus on eating the foods that a caveman would eat in order for health.
So eating it raw.
Not exactly eating raw. It's more of the food choice rather than the food preparation style. Something that is more along the idea of eating raw would be something like Liver King. For the people who are unaware of who the Liver King is, he is a charlatan. That is the hallmark word whenever we want to insult someone in the fitness industry nowadays. He's a charlatan who has been marketing the idea of eating raw meats, especially liver, and living life through the 9 ancestral tenets, which are ways of living your life.
Right. And here at Whiskeys and Weaves, we don't advise that you consume your meat raw because of
Yes,
concerns.
it is my primordial concern that you prepare your meat in a healthy fashion, depending on what kind of meat it is, whether it's the meat on the kitchen table, in the stove, down there, I don't know.
Yeah.
With that said, these different diets, for example, keto, vegan diet, paleo diets, they all have their respective tribes to them. In that you have people who absorb the diet and make it a fundamental part of their identities. For example, the keto dieters who incorporate the keto diet into their own nutritional lifestyle try their very best to advocate the keto diet to other people without fully understanding the science to it. It is because they do not understand the science to the keto diet that they are capable of promoting it without caring about the possible health concerns that a keto diet might promote. For example, the majority consumption of fats in the diet will lead to a reduction in the amount of carbohydrates that are present within the body. That is part of the goal of the keto diet, which is to force the body to engage in ketosis, where the body produces ketones in order to use as an alternative energy source instead of glucose. However, most people who have engaged in an ancestry where carbohydrates are used as the primary energy source will not be able to incorporate the use of ketones efficiently into their lifestyle, which results in many different symptoms such as low energy, possibly headaches, possibly lower performance as a result of that.
And that's the reason why most keto dieters have a piece of jerky near them at all times.
Not so much jerky, but it's almost like they're diabetics. They always need to have some kind of sugar source nearby for when the inevitable moment of their dietary failure occurs. And they resort back to consuming carbohydrates because their body simply cannot tolerate the lack of carbohydrates. Simply put, diets are systems by which people try to create food intakes or ways of eating food. However, it is not always compatible with people's bodies. But that is not the physiology of it is not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the tribal nature of it, in that people who engage in the keto diet and have assimilated the keto diet into their lifestyle simply cannot stop talking about it, and they do their very best to promote it. And for the people who provide the objective science to them, they do their very, very absolute bestest to deny them. Yes, that is fundamentally part of what it means to be a tribalist, part of a tribe. You belong, or rather you have consumed an idea so intimately, and now you do your very best to deny the objective information about that topic, regardless of how true it is.
Interestingly, there has been a study that has shown that any attacks to ideas that a person might have, any beliefs, produces the same biological reaction as a physical assault.
Yes, I would love to include the PubMed idea of this. However, we're not just talking about nutrition and diets here alone. There's also issues in the fitness world regarding training methodologies. For example, tribes form around the way people train.
Yes, definitely.
You see it in the way that people tout one training methodology as superior over the other. For example, touting that CrossFit is the best way to train. Now, CrossFit is a organization, and at the same time, it is also a methodology of training. In large part, it focuses on ensuring that anyone who takes part in CrossFit has the largest possible base of fitness possible by training in every single possible methodology. Any cardio-based methodology, for example, running, cycling, swimming, the rower, circuits, all that kind of thing, all those kinds of things. Strength training, power training, for example, the Olympic weightlifting movements, for example, high-speed calisthenics like muscle-ups. Then you have your strength movements. The kettlebells are one way of which they can express power or strength or conditioning. Yep. So tribes have formed around CrossFit training, in that it is the best possible way of training, but it doesn't take into account the fact that CrossFit is not the best way of training. It is just one way of training. It would only be the best for a person who's looking to be the best at CrossFit. For a person who has different fitness goals, CrossFit is not going to be the best way of training. Simply put, because you're trying to get good at everything, you can't get good at one thing. Would a fencer, for example, be able to profit off CrossFit? I'm sure, but would it be the best modality? Doubt it. Same thing. Powerlifter. Would they, someone in a strength sport that only requires the expression of a maximal strength performance across 3 repetitions, first attempt, second attempt, third attempt, maybe a fourth attempt, you never know. Would it be the best modality? Doubt it.
Mm-hmm.
But could it be useful? Questionable.
Perhaps.
Very questionable.
Nope.
That's it. We're not here to talk about the physiological problems of it. We're here to talk about the idea of tribalism.
Indeed.
That people form tribes around nutritional ideas. People form tribes around training modalities. Why do people form tribes? Fundamentally, it all boils down to one issue that we perceive. There is a social identity.
Fair enough.
In that people want to feel empowered when they take part in a training modality. People want to feel empowered when they consume a specific dietary lifestyle.
Perhaps they want to feel as though they were part of a community.
Exactly. After all, other people, tend to drive us to achieve our goals, not just ourselves.
We live in a society.
Exactly. You can't just write off motivation, you can't just write off discipline. Sometimes you need a little bit of external regulation.
Indeed.
People help to encourage you. Don't take that potato chip. Don't take that cookie, for
Peer
example.
pressure if you
Or
want
do one more rep, especially if you know that you can push yourself. Sometimes you just need people to give you the additional oomph to
Yeah.
not do or to do the right thing.
Indeed.
Yes, there is a core tenet of tribalism. So these are some examples of tribalism in fitness. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? We can get to the goods and bads or the pros and cons of tribalism after we've had our Glen Moray on the rocks.
Ooh. Right.
Exactly.
Let's have that.
Exactly. You want to do the honors?
I'll pour the whiskey. You can. I have touched the Yoshi.
Guess we both touched the dog.
Yes.
Okay, yes. So, Glen Moray on the rocks.
Indeed. Well, it is still very chill.
Agreed. But I think it is the idea of adding water to the whiskey that matters here.
Indeed. That may be a bit too much whiskey.
It's just a depth perception issue, it's fine.
Yeah. It comes with the inebriation.
Okay. Alright. Let's have Glen Moray single malt whiskey on rocks. Trust me.
Indeed. Cheers. Well, I wouldn't be against drinking a bit more of the Glen Moray because it is quite good.
Yes, so far it's proven to be a good experience.
Ooh. Interestingly, it brings out the fruitiness of it at the start,
Bring out the sweetness indeed.
and then the spicy, peaty, smoky flavor after that.
I'm not exactly getting the peat second off.
Second one.
Oh yeah. A bigger mouth was all I needed.
Yes, indeed.
There's the burn.
Yeah. What about that chocolate aftertaste? Do you still get that?
Fruity, still fruity, but the chocolate sweetness is gone.
Yeah. But it does bring out the fruitiness of it a lot more.
I think it's not so much the fruitiness, but the spice.
Spicy?
Yeah. It's not the burn, but there is now that spice that hits the nose a bit more.
Maybe because I have my sinus issues that I am not able to taste the spiciness in the nose.
Yeah. On the rocks makes it hit a little bit harder.
Definitely.
Subdues the taste a little bit. So if you're looking for a way to like, draw out the alcohol, draw out the spice, on the rocks is the way to go. Otherwise, think neat, chill, good way.
But it is definitely not something that I will write off as
It's
terrible.
not like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's just that one way allows you to get the sweetness, a very fruity sweetness more. Another way lets you draw spice, smokiness that you expect of a Speyside Scotch whiskey.
Surprisingly, the saltiness is gone. But that's to be expected. It was very light in the first place.
Yeah.
Alright.
If you wanted the salt, you would probably take down a Talisker. That is salty. There's the seaside right there. Ooh, in the bottom.
Alright.
Right.
So that's about sums up our On the Rocks
Yeah.
review.
So far, Glen Moray, Not a disappointment. Pretty good so far.
Pretty good.
Yep. Let's see if it suffices as a all-rounder like the singleton top.
Indeed. Oh my god, why is that?
Alright, so now that we are back from trying the Glen Morays on the rocks, Ben, I think you have some massive input to put on tribalism examples that I've said.
Indeed. Well, tribalism is about a community, and you know, as any community is of interest to sociology, because you know we study the communities that exist in society and we study society itself.
Yes, and the social relationships, that's very important, isn't it?
Exactly. So the interesting thing that you mentioned during the your part about tribalism is about how individuals come to form a community around a certain idea, a certain totem, if you will.
Exactly.
The thing is that these totems aren't exactly abstract per se.
And they aren't exactly physical too.
Exactly. So the idea of a totem revolves around the idea that individual experiences tends to how do I put it? It tends to lead them towards a certain idea of reality of their lives. So, you know, the totem is reflective of their life experiences or their worldviews, if you will.
So for example, person, keto diet, keto lifestyle.
Indeed, and the keto diet itself may be reflective of the conditions of the person itself.
Yes, for example, obese, want to lose weight, diet that uses fat as energy, keto diet.
Exactly. So there
okay.
is a very logical reason that they would promote the totem that they have accepted as their identity.
Logical insofar as the person can perceive it or understand it, I guess.
There is a reason that they have congregated around the totem is because it fits their worldview. For example, the one that you provided, the obese person has a worldview that the ketogenic diet actually is beneficial because it has helped them. Perhaps it may not be universal, but it has helped them specifically in the unique circumstances of an obese person. And it is likely that they would share this totem itself, that they would promote the idea of ketogenic diets because they believe that their worldview is something that is general.
Okay.
Generalizing
Yes.
their worldview.
To the masses.
Yeah, we have to accept that worldviews are very subjective,
Yes.
but the individual can only perceive the world through their own lens. Exactly.
In this case, it tends towards more like I take my n equal 1 view and I try to force feed it into n equals the world's population kind of a worldview.
Yes, yes. And the other thing about totemism that is interesting is that you mentioned that there are ways of selling certain commodities to the specific totem communities.
Yes.
So, for example, the idea of a ketogenic diet.
There will be keto foods.
Exactly.
So foods that are designed to be very low in carbohydrates, higher in fat, such that it meets the standard requirements of a prototypical ketogenic diet, such that it has less than 10% of the carbohydrates in terms of less than 10% of the calories in carbohydrates.
Indeed. So for the Liver King community, it would be
Mostly livers, mostly organ meats.
We can extend it to a larger community. So for the fitness community, it will be the promoting of fitness commodities.
Yes.
This would differ from a more perhaps we could contrast it to the anime community, which has the commodities of
What's going on?
What is going on indeed?
Okay, mild technical issue, but let's just say that Ben's laptop has had some water irrigation issues. And
Yeah.
well, stopping.
technology is most fickle indeed. But that
Or just
beside-
not waterproof, but hey, that's beside the point.
Yeah,
we
that's
are
beside
here
the point.
talking about commodities and tribalism. What is the intricate link?
So the idea of a tribe is that they have a certain idea of what they want to consume. And the best part about this is that if you do provide the goods that they are willing to consume, it is a market that is very willing to consume the goods.
Yes, the demand is ever present for the
Indeed.
leader who has the supply.
Indeed. And the demand is very strong in a community. So, yeah. For most communities, there is a supply of commodities. And, well, as a capitalistic society, there is a very willing provision of commodities.
Yes, there is absolutely no shame in saying that the capitalistic overlords are willing to provide a fancy supply of goods in order to meet the needs and demands of a growing and desiring, microcosm, the social group. Perhaps the keto example is a good example. You have what is the scientific prototypical ketogenic diet? That is a diet that consists of the most part of fat, very little in carbohydrates, and rather low in protein as well. Then you have the intended outcomes of the ketogenic diet. As far as I am aware, in my studies, I know that the ketogenic diet was intended to mitigate the effects of, I think, epilepsy.
Ooh.
Very weird way of thinking about things, right?
Interesting.
Yes.
It's very interesting.
It was meant to mitigate the effects of epilepsy, and it proved to be rather effective, actually, which is why it has gained traction. In modern context, the ketogenic diet is a fad diet that has been promoted as a means of losing weight. Not say losing weight, but rather losing fat weight. So utilizing the stored fat in the body in order to reduce your body weight. Which is what, most people would desire as long as they can lose fat until a desirable range. For some, losing to a healthy range. For some, losing fat until it brings out the aesthetic physique that they want.
So the six-pack.
A six-pack is just one way of it. For example, some people could want
Lean muscles.
ab veins.
Oh,
Not just a six-pack,
wow.
but the veins visible and poking out on the abs.
That
Which
is
another one.
disturbing, but
Striated quadriceps, so striated leg muscles. That means that you can see the lines that are created by the muscle fibers. Striated shoulders, so you can see like all the individual lines and recesses that are visible on the shoulder muscles. Especially for bodybuilders and physique athletes, that would be the desired outcome if they are preparing for a competition.
Fair enough.
That's one of the outcomes. But for the generic Joe who might be overweight, it could be losing some weight, because the ketogenic diet's modern appeal is that because you consume mostly fat, you are going to use mostly fat as your energy resource, and as a result, you utilize the fat that's stored within the body and thus result in an overall depletion of it. Unfortunately, for these people, the fundamental physics of weight loss, fat loss still remains. That is, you have to have a caloric
You have to burn the
imbalance.
fats.
You need to have a caloric deficit. That means that you need to use more energy from the body than you are taking in, such that you are in a net caloric deficit. And as a consequence of your net caloric deficit, you have to utilize fat as the energy source, or stored fat as the energy source, and thus results in an overall reduction in body fat.
Yes. Well, pardon the slight technical difficulties on my end.
Yes.
Mostly sinus issues. But
That's it. No, we haven't even gotten to the main point of why I'm even talking about the ketogenic diet. The whole point is that it's consumerism. In that, because you have a tribe of willing keto diet consumers, you have keto products that are being produced for them.
specific to them.
Yes, simply put, products that are marketed as being very high in fat, very low in carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are not the evil, it's just that the nature of the prototypical ketogenic diet is low carbohydrate, high in fat. And thus the products must meet that requirement. For example, ice cream. Ice cream that is low in carbohydrates, so low in sugars, or low in any other stored carbohydrate like starch, but high in fat. So, for example, something that is very high in dairy content would be something that can be marketed as a keto product. Keto protein bars, those are something else. Even meat, because meat is fundamentally low in sugar, high in proteins, and high in fat. That is something that can be marketed as a ketogenic product. Bacon is a good example. Even I loathe to say it, bulletproof coffee is a ketogenic product.
Oh.
Bulletproof coffee, if you don't know what it means, is a coffee with butter added to it.
Oh.
So something that is typically devoid of nutrients now has a massive bolus of fat added to it.
Right.
So by prototypical ketogenic diet standards, it now is low in carbohydrates and high in fat. Thus, it is something that can be a marketable good. You go out to a cafe, yo, I want some bulletproof coffee, my dude. Then my dude is like, yo, I got you, fam. Then he just takes a stick of butter, cuts off the end, tosses it into your coffee, kopi o kosong, and then gives it to you. Then you're like, yo, thanks, dude. Then you slurp it down, and then you wonder why you're having a coronary 1 year later.
Yeah, fair enough. So, interestingly, right, when we have the topic that we have discussed mostly focuses around demand for commodities.
Exactly.
But there is an interesting, side to demand that is not often talked about, but actually plays a significant role in tribalism, which is the commodification of your descent.
Aha, yes. That is a topic that you've told me to read up upon, actually.
Indeed. So the idea is that there is a book by De Beffler, which is a collection of essays, specifically discussing the commodification of descent. What do I mean by commodification of descent? It is the idea that for every community, there is something that they despise, something that they fight against. Yes, so
keto carbs.
Exactly. So you would want as the identity of a keto follower, that you would be against carbs, right? So how would you promote the idea of
ketogenic superiority?
Yeah, exactly. So you would have to display it somehow, and this dissent against the carb supremacy would be through consumerism.
Like the formation of a ketogenic product, like
Well,
ketone protein bar.
perhaps not specifically about the product catering towards the ketogenic diet, but something more along the lines of a shirt saying keto is supreme.
Aha.
Commoditizing your dissent against carbs.
Yes, against other nutritional
Exactly.
designs, philosophies. I wouldn't know.
So the idea of the modern modern capitalist society is that anything can be commodified, monetized, and when there is a demand for it, you can capitalize off it. So the idea that dissent is now something that you can capitalize off, because through how you would portray your identity would be consumption of a certain type of goods. In this case, a shirt that says,
ketogenic diet is the best.
Yeah, exactly. Which is an interesting topic that is often neglected by discussions of tribalism.
Yes, the idea of putting out your tribe is the best is a
Indeed.
form of saying, it's a form of the commodification of your dissent against other tribes that stand against yours.
Yes, which in a sense, specifically in this sense, it doesn't really take the form of the commodification of dissent, in that it is recuperated into mainstream. However, that's an entire topic to go on. But the idea that a totem that stands against modern society, so perhaps something like
climate change activists, you know, that kind of dissent against the pre-existing institutions, well, it is also possible that, you know, you are able to commoditize their dissent. So
The sheer irony of it.
indeed, so you consume a good that actually goes against the idea of your dissent. So it's like how the hippies, if you sell a shirt that says obey, which is supposed to be a symbol of rebellion against the capitalist society, the very dictatorish, you know, idea of capitalism. Well, capitalism has taken the idea of obey, dissent against capitalism, incorporated it into a commodity, and sold it back to the people who are dissenting against capitalism.
And the little suckers don't even realize
Exactly.
that they have succumbed to the capitalist overlords.
Which is an interesting way of commodifying their dissent.
The
Just
fools.
making it mainstream and then diluting and dissolving their dissent. Making it into mainstream.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure that this is but one way in which commodification has taken place in tribalism.
Indeed.
Yes, a way that helps to promote the very antisocial relationships between tribes in order to make enemies of each other. Or rather, I think that making enemies of different tribes is the way for which a tribe grows its influence, grows its dastardly reaches.
Indeed. It defines the identity.
Yeah, in order for a tribe to grow, in order for them to promote their identity, they need to make it such that their tribe members see other tribes as opponents, as people dissenting against them. And by identifying said dissent, they then create commodities in order to visualize it for the tribe members. That is how they create this opposition against other tribes. For example, keto groups who I don't know how they do it in modern days, but somehow they think that they're the best. So they have shirts that would say that, oh, keto is the best, carbs are the enemy. Whereas anyone with a half-working brain would be able to know that carbs are not the enemy, they're simply another energy source. Might work for some people, might not work for other people. And then they don't fall into the capitalist trap, and rather they just live life like normal humans with a working brain. Whereas those who have fallen prey into the capitalistic nature of a tribe, they consume said commodities that say that carbs are the enemies, keto is the best, and they continue throwing money to the keto overlords who just sit back, watch the world burn, and enjoy the fact that people are spending money on what is a fat diet.
Indeed. So how commodities have come to define the identity of tribes.
Yes, with that said, before we go deeper into the idea of identities,
Indeed.
let's look further into the identities of the Glen Moray single malt Scotch whisky as we try it with an array of mixers.
Will it stand out? Will it not? Who knows?
Exactly. Let's see if we can identify the identity of the Glen Moray once it has been subsumed with an array of mixers.
Ginger ale.
Ginger ale. Alright, it's come to that time.
Yeah.
That time.
That time when we just died.
Yes, so now we're going to have the Glen Moray, but with our usual mixers.
And the ice cream soda,
Yes,
which is an interesting mixer.
exactly. So, Ben, would you like to do the ginger ale again?
Yeah, why not? Alright, so what are you expecting from this?
It's kind of the flavors aren't very strong, kind of like the Singleton. So I'm not exactly expecting it to, how to say?
Stand out?
Yeah.
Fair enough. It is pretty chill whiskey. So, but it may not stand out too much. But hopefully it does alter the taste enough such that it provides us an interesting experience. And then after this, hopefully we do not die before the last section.
Hopefully we don't die before the EOY, or rather after the EOY.
Wait, are we drinking after EOI?
Are we drinking after the EOY?
Oh.
Are we going to go ahead with our plans to have like a fan meetup?
Probably on the second day, on Christmas itself.
Yes. Sounds good.
Wait, Christmas is 25th, right?
Yes, EOY second day is on Christmas.
Interesting.
But this episode is released after Christmas, so people are going to be seeing our retrospective opinion. Isn't that absolutely wonderful?
Indeed, how time works on entertainment.
Yes. So now, my capitalist friend, or rather my friend who despairs at capitalism, let's sample the goods.
Indeed.
So let's begin with Coke. I think it's better not do the old switcheroo because the old switcheroo is up.
Indeed.
Now to censor that.
Right, you just censored yourself.
Exactly.
Alright, Coke.
Coke. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Ooh,
Alcoholic Coke.
it does alter the taste of Coke a bit. Vanilla Coke.
I agree it doesn't exactly taste like Coke, but for you it's vanilla, for me it's a little bit spicy Coke.
Ooh, spicy Coke.
Like the vanilla flavor is not blatant, like if we added the Kyushu combos, right? For me it's a little bit spicy, for you vanilla. So I guess anyone who takes the Glen Moray, which is a rather affordable bottle, and mixes it with Coke, pretty decent.
Pretty good.
Taste might differ according to the individual.
Something the British will never be able to pull off.
I don't get the reference, but
Sorry,
British.
it's just that, British cuisine is just bland. It is essentially just boiled potatoes.
Really?
That's the stereotype.
Oh, is that why Gawain in Fake Grand Order is well known for his mashed potatoes? Because they're tasteless AF.
Perhaps. I am not well versed with the Fake Grand Order series, so yeah, the stereotype that British cuisine is just bland potatoes.
British.
British. It's funny how they stole all the spices and never included it into their cuisine.
Ah, such a irony.
Oh my god. I think we're gonna lose any British viewers. Not that I think we have any right now.
With a viewership in the 2 digits, no.
Yeah.
Let's hope that we launch a gag that is sufficiently funny and it attracts sufficient viewers. Or we get on the Trash Taste podcast by offering them enough alcohol to have us on the podcast.
Yeah. In any case, on to the next.
Next one, once more to the breach.
Once more.
Okay,
onto
so
the beach.
let's do our gag mixer, which is
Ooh.
the ice cream soda. It is the one that is unchilled. It is the one that is most likely to kill us. Because taste is relatively unknown. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Alright, let's see what it tastes like.
Oh, actually,
Oh,
I feel like
it's-
there's a neutralization.
It is not. It is not good.
It feels like it's neutralizing the taste. Now it just tastes like pear.
It tastes like slightly bitter.
Ice cream soda?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I meant by neutralization. It's like I'm not getting any of the flavors. Any of the usual flavors?
It is not good.
Mm.
Don't go full meme. Yeah.
Oh, it's hitting now.
Yeah, it's not. It is not. Not the right call. Oh.
It's
Right.
like what happens if you take 2 negatives and do a summation? You just get more negatives.
Yeah. pretty much. When you
Get less ice cream soda, less whiskey, and now it just tastes like
Just-
saucy baka. Like licking a saucy baka right now. Yeah. Dude, lick it right there, man.
Super sus.
It's like you took a boo and you lick Luigi when he's having a Luigi's Mansion face.
Well, I shall
Oh,
leave that
oof.
for later. I shall not
Agreed.
try to finish it.
Okay, let's go to the thing that always overshadows anything. Ginger ale.
Yeah.
Just me.
Nope, still tastes like ginger ale.
Something doesn't. Some things don't disappoint. It's just ginger ale.
It is just ginger ale. It is really just ginger ale.
Yeah, don't add enough. No, right? You saw me adding
No,
more,
it's
right?
definitely enough.
This is one of those rare cases where ginger ale just overpowers the alcohol taste, any possible tasting notes. It's just ginger ale.
Just ginger ale.
Damn.
I mean, perhaps one could see that as a positive.
Mixing was a mistake.
It is most unfortunate.
Yeah.
The Coke wasn't that bad, but the others
I think Glen Moray, 12 years single malt,
straight.
just neat. On the rocks. That's it. That's the best possible way you could have this.
Indeed.
A
That's
true
it.
blue like whiskey in the sense that it's something that you enjoy on its own rather than mixed. It's not an alcohol that's meant to be mixed.
With that said, I think I'm gonna kill myself on the rest of the alcohol. And hopefully we'll be able to get through with the episode.
The name of science.
In the name of what? In the name of what the heck? In any case, what's your rating on this?
Oh, a solid 8.3.
Honestly, yeah, just don't mix it. It's not an all-rounder. It's just
It's got a good kick on its own.
yeah.
Not very good when mixed, or rather at least for our mixer choices. But it's a stellar whiskey if you were to just have it on its own.
Yeah, it's a good bottle to have.
Yeah. Glen Moray, Suicide Single Malt, podcast finish.
Just to
Recommend.
Yeah, just to mix it.
It's a good bottle.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it as it is, you know? You don't have to be like us. We have a structure, we have a system, we always do a neat on the rocks,
Indeed.
and then we test our livers when we mix it. Test our sanity, our livers, our taste buds.
Yeah. Now, I guess
It's just that now that I feel a little poisoned, so yeah.
let's hope that you'll be able to survive the next section.
Yeah. Oof. Okay, so that's it. I think 8.3 for me. What about you?
No, it.
Yeah.
No,
Overall, good whiskey.
good whiskey.
Just don't mix it. It'll be a mistake.
Not a value drink.
Otherwise, I think that is the absolute wrap up of the Glen Moray Single Malt Scotch Whiskey pot finish.
Indeed. All right.
Right.
Yes, so
It is time.
It
Ben,
is time.
we have meandered for far too long. It is
Indeed.
time to wrap up the episode for our fine viewers who are watching us.
Indeed.
Let us bring everything back to what is the core of the Whiskies and Weeds podcast.
Indeed, the weebs aspect.
Exactly. Let's go back to the anime things. So, subs versus dubs.
Indeed. Well, I am personally a subs person.
Agree?
Agreed.
I too am a sub person. I can't stand to watch like anime in dubs alone.
Indeed.
I tried. Let it be known that I tried.
Well, there are some dubs that I guess are definitely watchable.
Agreed.
Panty and Stocking.
Really?
Sub dubs.
Okay,
is-
let's try to bring things down to modern time. I think The Eminence in Shadow is acceptable dub.
I haven't watched the dub for that.
It's great, though.
The only dubs that I recognize are Ghost Story and then Pendy is Talking.
I think that in recent times, Eminence of Shadow is okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think Chainsaw Man does not require too much of a understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think Bleach requires a very good understanding of the terms that are involved.
Mhm.
Because, well, it's Bleach.
It is
Kubo
Bleach.
has his way of going about things. Yes.
Fair enough.
But in general, subs over dubs.
Subs over dubs.
Yes. Well, mainly because we do not know the language.
Yeah.
But let's go to the more important point. Anime or manga?
Which is superior indeed.
Is it really a question of superiority? But just kidding.
It's
Manga is superior.
I would say that it's situational. As a sociology student, situational. Situational ethics, situational. Everything is situational.
Like, okay, it's the source material by which the anime is usually derived from. But I must admit, anime gives life
yeah,
to the drawings.
Naruto definitely plays differently in terms of the anime compared to the manga.
Do you even watch Naruto?
Nope.
I did, but it's true.
It is true.
Ironically, you didn't watch it, but
I mean-
I did. The final fight, the animation for Naruto versus Sasuke, very last fight, it deserves an applause.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like Luffy versus Katakuri, where the animation quality drastically got improved.
Sorry, I didn't watch One Piece either.
It deserves to be whacked. Or just the entirety of the Bleach current season. I think every single fight has been stellar so far. Ichigo versus Eben, Ichigo versus Kruge, Ichigo versus Watch. I'm speaking German, you probably you
Yeah.
look like you don't understand a single word of it. Ichigo versus the Bleach rendition of Nazis. So far, good rendition.
Perhaps something that would be more relatable for me and for most people would be the Attack on Titan.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
Shingeki no Kyojin.
Indeed.
The Attack Titan.
Yeah. Definitely something better animated than the manga.
Agreed.
Though the manga has certain aspects that are better than the anime itself.
I think that the manga and anime both depict the wildness
Mhm.
of the Attack Titan in very different ways.
Yeah.
The manga give it an extreme intensity that you will not be able to obtain from the... Oh, the anime gives it an intensity that will not be obtainable from the manga.
Indeed.
The manga gives it that grim darkness that you will not be able to obtain from the anime.
Indeed.
The sheer necessary evil and griminess that comes from a dystopian kind of like world setting.
Indeed. And that's kind of the idea behind the worldview perspective of tribalism. It is something that reflects the individual's worldview and is very subjective.
Yes. What's the whole point of like talking about tribes?
True.
Tribes the viewer might ask. Don't you think, Ben? Is that why are we even spending 1 hour talking about tribes?
I mean,
It's not just about commodities.
yeah, it's about identity.
Exactly. Specifically, let's talk about this podcast alone. What is the identity of the viewer who would waste an hour and a half of their time watching said podcast?
Well, I wouldn't
Just
say
kidding,
waste.
you only watch 10 minutes or less. Let's not lie about that.
The thing is that probably the viewers won't even reach this part.
We will know that through YouTube Insights, but that's it. What is the social identity of the viewer? Do they really think that they are a whiskey individual? Or do they relate more with the weep side of things?
Well, I would assume the weave side of things 'cause
Agreed,
it's
agreed.
more common.
If anything, I think that the viewer is going to relate more with our weep side of things. We are ultimately an anime podcast. We talk about anime. We give, I wouldn't say hot takes about anime, but we do talk about anime. And we do analysis of anime within the purview of the context of sociology and fitness. But ultimately, we just talk shit about anime. That is the fundamental rule of the Whiskies and Weeds podcast. It is why we call ourselves Anime, Alcohol, and XXX podcast.
Indeed, you just talk about it.
It's not to say that it's not to say that the identity is irrelevant. However, we prefer to keep things to two different facets. We have our identities as people who deeply enjoy the J culture, Japanese culture, anime and manga. And we are the people who are, well, alcoholics, to say the least. We enjoy whiskeys, we enjoy the other alcoholic spirits.
To be fair, there is a third identity, which is specifically sociology and
fitness.
fitness.
Those are the rare participants who, well, see us for the deeper topics.
Indeed.
But with that said, we hope that you have enjoyed this little discussion on social identity and tribalism. We've tried to give examples related to the radical culture on, well, diets, fitness. We've tried our very best to, well, talk about, the consumerist nature
Indeed.
of a tribe.
Commodification and commodification of dissent.
Yes. We hope that you would see that if you, well, identify with any said tribe, know that, well, there's always a financial incentive to said tribe, and that your social identity within the tribe is very much socially engineered.
Indeed.
And that you are likely being, well, persuaded to spend money
Indeed.
to maintain your identity within this tribe.
If the product is free, well, you are the product.
Yes, you don't just simply spend, but rather you have become integrated within the culture of spending that this said identity constitutes. Now then, I think we have gone on long enough.
Yes, I am very drunk. And I think this will be a good place to round it off. That's it. Drink responsibly.
Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly.
Indeed.
That's it. This is Ben and Ed wrapping up the Anime, Alcohol, and Tribalism podcast.